There.
Okay. All right. Well, good evening. And thank you, Cookie, and all of our sponsors. We have 6 sponsors tonight. And the LAN Foundation, which she is involved with, has been talking to me, and PSEG and all of our sponsors have asked me to talk with you tonight about your future and about what we can do to go and be better interviewers. And what I wanted to start out to talk about is the fact that all of the opportunities that we have at this time. It's an unusual time in our history. If we look back over the last few years, we had COVID, we had layoffs, we had this and that going on. And now we're going through a big change in what are the work situations, what are the opportunities, and what are people expecting from their employees. So that gives us a great opportunity to go and better ourselves. And when I say better ourselves, you have to decide what is your career goal. And we'll talk about that just in a few minutes, but it's not just getting a job. We can all get a job, and let me tell you why. There are 11 million jobs right now posted on all the hiring networks, and there's only 8 million people looking for them. So that means that everyone can get a job. There's no question about that. But the question is it the right job for you? And how are you going to know that? Are you going to look at it just from the salary end of it, or how convenient it is? So we have to, first of all, start to think about where we want to go, because there's a big difference in getting a job and developing a career. And I know many of you are going through some career training and some new areas that you're getting involved with, which is fantastic, because what it does is allows you to fill those special needs. And one thing I want to impress upon everyone before we go any further, you are all special from the standpoint of what skills you have, what experiences you've had, and there is no one else in the world that is the same as you. And I like to look at this and think about it. If you've ever looked through one of those kaleidoscopes where you look in and there's all these different pieces of glass, and when you turn it, all the pictures change. Well, everyone's kaleidoscope will be different, because you have experienced so many different things in life in different ways at different times. Now, your problem is, how are you going to go and make yourself stand out to the rest of the candidates that are applying for the job that you are looking for? And that's where we start to go and think about the process of building and developing our interviewing skills. Everyone starts out with a resume. Everyone tries to look at a template that they like. They put their own touches to it. It has to line up. It has to be perfectly put together. So if you look at resumes, they are very, very similar. But the difference is how you list your qualifications, how you list the things that you have done in the past to make you a different candidate than the rest of the world. And then what we do is, many of us will do that, and then we step back and start to look for job postings. And we say, oh, that looks like a great job, so let me apply, and I'll send my application in. And we haven't done the work that's needed for you to be successful. And of all the people that I work with, and I work with thousands of people, and I've encouraged and trained and interviewed, and many times people will spend all of their time working on the resume, do not think about how they're going to do the interview, and they have very little follow-up afterwards. So what we're going to talk about in the next 20 minutes is some of the steps that you should use. And you might want to take some notes, and since it is being taped, you might be able to go back and look at it. But the first thing you want to do is you want to go and figure out what is your goal. And if we look at a job that starts out at $20 an hour, that's a little over $40,000 a year. So if someone said to you, would you take a $40,000 a year job? That's $20 an hour. So you have to think of it that way. And if someone offered you a job for $50,000, that would be $25 an hour. So you start to relate what the salaries are. The difference in a lifetime's earning between 20 and 25 to start is phenomenal. When you think of what you will earn in a lifetime by getting the right job to start with. So what you have to do is come up with a plan as to what is your goal? Where do you want to see yourself going? Is it a career path or is it an interim job to get experience? You set the goal as to what you want to do. So once we have the goal set, then we can go and do the resume like we said. But then most people will stop at the resume and they will not go further to go and develop their skills from the standpoint of how to tell their story so they are the number one candidate. And I'll just tell you a little bit about what the interviewing process is like. If you're going to interview for a job, either Zoom, online, on the phone, or in person, it all works the same way. And we'll talk about tactics for handling all three of those. But it's a system of comparisons. So we will ask mostly the same questions to every candidate because we want to make sure we have everyone getting us or giving us the same information. So many of the questions are very similar, and we'll talk about some of those similar questions in a few minutes. But we'll interview someone and we'll look at them and we'll make notes as to what they can do for us. And then we interview the next person, and then it's a system of comparing. Oh, well, this one's better, so theirs goes on the top. Then we interview the third one and we do some comparisons and we ask the same questions and we say, wow, oh, that person is number two. So by the end of the day, I go and I take all my applications, and that's the order in which I will make the job offers. So your job is how to keep your application on the top. And it's the interview. It's the discussion that you have with the interviewer to go and prove that you are the right person for the job. Now, let me explain. So now we know where we want to go, what we want to do. We are interviewing companies that are in the areas that we want to develop our future with. Every company, no matter who you interview with, and you can interview for any job today, and the requirements basically will be the same. Let me explain. They have a problem which they need solved. I mean, that sounds easy enough. They're either expanding their operation and putting on employees into a new area, or they have someone that left and they want to fill that job. So they have a problem. They're either expanding or replacing someone. And they need someone that's a good communicator, and they need someone that's going to fit into the organization because they don't want any problems. They don't want any misunderstandings as to what your responsibilities are and to get along. And the fourth most important one that has just come up in the last 2 months, and I have read several articles from different sources. The last one, I read 2 articles last week. One was for the National Career Development Association, which I'm a member of, and also the other one was the Harvard Business Review. And they said that every interviewer from now on should ask people, how do they learn? And what the question that they propose that we ask is, tell me about something you've learned in the last 6 months that were not associated with your studies. What have you learned or taught yourself in the last 6 months or that were not part of your studies? And it's a very telltale question, one that will go and give them an idea that you're a constant learner, that we can teach you online. We can go and have you change and go into new areas, be be adaptable to new concepts and new changes. If you're going into the tech industry, it changes so quickly. They have to know that you are interested in learning. It could be that you learned how to cook bake a new cake, or you learned the rules for soccer, or you learned how to drive and maybe you didn't drive before, which you don't have to, because they can't ask questions as to how you can get to work or not. But something that you learned on your own. So you have to think about some of these questions and give good examples. Now, so we have our resume, we have our goal. We know that we have to come across as a problem solver, a good communicator, a team player, and someone that can be educated, can be learned, and has that learning tendency. Those are the 4 things you have to concentrate on. So what do we do next? What do we do next? We start by looking at our strengths. How are we a problem solver? How do we communicate? How are we a team player? And we don't do it like some people think they do. We don't want to buy the book. I have a book out called Ask Me Anything, but I don't have the 125 questions that some people will put into a book and give you examples and good answers and everything else, because you're not going to be able to use teleprompters. You're not going to be able to use notes in most cases. So you have to learn them, learn the responses, practice them so that they flow. And you're going to find that the ahs and the ands and the oohs and you knows go away once we know what we're looking to answer, and we have heard ourselves say that. So we looked at our strengths. We know we have to be a problem solver. And now we go and start to prepare for the interview. So when we prepare for the interview, some people buy the book and go through all those questions. Other ones will go and look at the company that they're going to hire or work for or interview for. And what are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? What are the things that they have done recently that are new or that they have to change with? So get to know them. So when you answer the questions, you'll be able to address some of the things that they may need help with. And you also want to go and make sure that you're giving them information that will help them make the decision. Hopefully this is making sense. So now what we do is, what are the 2 questions they're going to ask? If I would ask for a show of hands, the first question people are going to ask you is, tell me about yourself. And the last question they're going to ask is, do you have any questions? So by answering, tell me about yourself in a very professional way, telling them the stories that make you different than the other candidate, they will then be able to go and refer to that. I remember candidates that I interviewed 40 years ago on Fordham University. I remember the day, and I remember many other ones, but these stuck out in my mind. The first person that I was interviewing wasn't prepared. They almost were flippant about it. The second one knew what they wanted to tell me. They were sincere. I asked them some questions. They gave me honest questions that they had thought about. And I gave that person the job offer because they were sincere and relayed to me why they were different and why they were a good problem solver for me. So now, if we look at the first question, tell me about yourself. That's where you have the opportunity to list and say to the people, the interviewer, or there may be 2 or 3 doing the interview with you, why you are their candidate. And you want to go and give them basic information about your education, your training, your background from the standpoint of work ethic. And then give them examples of how you have prepared to solve problems. That's a big problem for many people. They don't realize what they have done in the past. that fills this requirement. And I ask people, so what problems have you solved? Oh, well, I don't know. And then the question that I'll always ask is, well, how did you solve the problem to get your education? Well, I went to junior college, I went to community college, I went into the trade school and went there. So you solved a problem. We don't think of it that way. So what we have to do is when they say, tell me about yourself, you want to say where you are in life, what experiences you've had, and give them examples. I'm a graduate of this training class. I've just been educated in this particular area. I'm receiving this degree or certification. I'm qualified to do this. I did it through this particular institution. I did extremely well. I can give you examples of what projects we work for, what systems I work for, and you can give them those types of things. Because most people will go in there and give what I call the Boy Scout or the Scout interview. They'll say, tell me about yourself. Well, I just graduated from this trade school and that trade school, and I'm trustworthy, I'm loyal, I'm helpful, I'm friendly, I'm courteous. And they go on all these lists of all these adjectives that should be really acceptable for other people. The interviewer looks there and says, so what? Everyone can say that. Give me some examples. So you never answer a question without giving a good example of what you want to. And the reason you're going to have good examples is you've already looked at your strengths. You looked at your opportunities and those things that make you different. And you've heard yourself say it. And we'll talk about prep in a few minutes. I have like 6 minutes before I want to break off. So what you do is you get a good opening and give them good examples of why you are a good problem solver, a good communicator, and a team player. And sometimes it will take you a day or two to prepare for that, to think about that. And then what you want to do is have those in your mind. And we'll talk about how you want to practice in a few minutes. So then what you do is you think about the final question that they're going to ask you, which is the best question. Do you have any questions? So do not go into a book and read questions to ask the interviewer. We wrote the books. We gave you the information. We laugh about how everyone is asking the same question of all of us. And we're now, what's the number one question we're getting? Well, what advice would you give to someone who's entering in this job? Or how do you like your job? Or what do you find most exciting about your job? They don't want to talk about themselves. They want to get to know you. And you want to go and get to know them and the company you're going to work for. So you ask questions that are very specific to you making a decision. If they say, okay, you're hired right now, are you going to say, great, I'll take the job, without knowing all the information? So the questions you should ask, don't ask questions that can be found on the internet if it's a public company. If it's a private company, small company, you ask questions that are important to you. What are you most proud of? Where do you see your company going in the next 5 years? How has COVID affected you and your employees? What plans did your company have to adjust to COVID? What is your next phase of development? Those are things that are going to give you ideas as to if this is a company that you want to work for, and do they have the opportunities that you are expecting? And then the very last question they're going to ask you is, do you have any other questions? And that's when you pull it all together. And you do what no one else in any other book will tell you, but all hiring managers know that this is the number one thing they're looking for. You have to ask for the job. I have a marketing manager in a pharmaceutical company will not hire an employee unless they ask for the job. I have one of the top 50 bankers in JP Morgan will not hire a banker or an employee or an assistant or an analyst unless they ask for the job. I will never hire an accountant unless they ask for the job. Now, what does that sound like and what does that mean? You can't just go and say, no, I really don't have any more questions. A good closing that I've used myself, because I'm still interviewing for jobs. I have 5 jobs. And I have 5 different resumes because I tailor them based on the job that I'm interviewing for. I'm working those 5 jobs. And what happens is you go and say, after talking to you, and after you hearing what I have to offer you, the fact that I have been trained in this particular area, I have experience, I am looking forward to going and helping you make a difference. I'm looking to help you solve problems, and I would like to have the opportunity to work for you. Something to that degree. You're not coming out and say, well, when do I start? But you're showing interest, because what has happened is, as these interviews are all lined up on the top, if the person doesn't show me that they are interested in coming with us, I may go to the next person, because why do I want to waste my time to hire someone who doesn't indicate an excitement about coming to work for us? So you, in a roundabout way, saying, I hope that what I have told you, and I hope that what we have talked about will show that I'm a good candidate for this job, and I would love to have the opportunity to make a difference in your organization. Something to that effect is teletyping to them that you are definitely interested in them. So then they will end up with the interview. And you ask at that point if, for their cards or their contact information, if it's on the phone. You would go and want to go and have a follow-up email, usually within the same day, but not immediately. You wait a couple hours because you don't want to look at like it's a canned response. So you would send an email to them or a handwritten note. And I tell people, you go into the interview with a little folder, and tucked away in that folder is a good quality paper thank you card. It can be plain. You have your return address on it. You have a stamp on it. You need to get their contact information. And the first thing you do when you leave that interview is you go to your car, you go to a quiet place, you write something that's very was important in the interview. You thank them for their time every time. At every interview, you always thank them for their time, and then you drop it in the closest mailbox. 80% of people who are interviewing candidates that get a follow-up thank you, either email or handwritten, will go back and look at that application if they have not hired them. And then after you've done the interview, what you want to do is write down any of the questions that you found were hard to answer. And if you find a question that's hard to answer, you can think by asking them to repeat it. You ask them if they can be a little bit more specific. If you're talking too much during the interview and you're sort of wondering here and there, you just simply say to them, would you like to hear more about that? If you have excited them with your information, they'll say, sure, go ahead. Or they'll say, no, I'd like to ask you this other question, which is fine. Now, as you have prepared your list of strengths, how you're a good communicator, all those examples. The way I want you to practice is to record it. Record it on your phone. I usually like to do it by just walking around a room or going for a walk, and I record it. And I usually just, that gives me the opportunity to be a little distracted. And then what happens is your words will flow. You've heard yourself answer the questions, and the ahs, the ands, your no's will go away, and you'll feel very comfortable. Because what I want you to do is to go into the interview thinking it's your interview. It's not their interview. You're going to tell them what you want to get across, and you're going to do it in a professional manner with good examples. So you can sit in the interview and you're going to be nervous, and you're going to sit down and say, okay, in your mind, ask me anything. Okay, Cookie, do you have any questions?
No, what I'd like to do, if my computer allows me to do this, I've had your, oh Lord, there it is. I had your bio pulled up here, and I wanted to let everyone, first of all, just have a quick little note about who you are. And I just lost it. Here it is. Okay. Let me just please share with you who Philip is. So what this means is you're going to see that he has given you a very generic kind of introduction to job skills and trends. So let me just say, his career spans over 60 years as a manager, recruiter, accountant, professor, and author. He earned his BS in economics from Juniata College and his MBA from Caldwell University. His career includes 38 years with a Fortune 500 company specializing in management, operations, merchandising, and college recruitment. He is currently a public accountant and an adjunct professor of accounting and marketing economics. Now that's who's saying hello to you this evening. Another thing that I want to mention, because I want to be very clear that we want to have a conversation with Phil, and I want to leave time for that. I also want to explain to you why the foundation is doing this. The foundation is involved with a Clean Industries job recruitment campaign that is in collaboration with public service, electric and gas, and many vendors. And everyone that works, employers that work with clean industries are looking to hire in the PSEG territory and geography about 3,000 people. What I am saying to us here on this particular call, Zoom, is that the people that they are looking to hire the most at this point in time and since last year are Latina women, Latina bilingual women. So I am just floored at how many of us are exactly on this Zoom. So this is a wonderful, wonderful space for us to continue this conversation past this. I also want to close with, while this is a campaign that's looking for every element of clean industries, from the guy putting the light bulb on the Home Depot shelf, to the guy driving it there, to the technician who's running the wires, to the weatherization guy who's fixing your windows, and all of these things are part of this, to the customer service operator, to the outreach people, to the engineers. Every level of the spectrum is open to you at this moment. There is someone who I'd like him to come off camera for a minute just to say a quick hello to you. His name is Victor Mendez Polanco. He is our job recruiter here, and he is available to you, as am I. I am the program manager of this program. And I do notice somebody who is a success story of ours, but I won't say her name unless she wants to say something later as well, towards the end of this program. But there is someone here who has actually made it through, and she's working, and I believe she's very happy. But Victor, please say hello really quickly, because I'd love to open the floor right now.
Hello guys, oh, my phone is echoing, sorry. It's a pleasure to meet all of you, and thank you guys for coming on board. Thank you so much, Mr. Philip Hess, for coming on board and helping everybody out, and improving their interviewing skills and bettering, better ways to go about it, because it's very important that everybody how to. I don't know why my mic cut off. Sorry. If that everybody knows how to, go about the interview, the best questions to ask, because it's very important, and jobs look into that, and the ways that you discuss things, the way that you
Okay,
specific
so hit,
questions that you may ask, and it's very important. So I want to thank you. And if anybody on here is in search for jobs and is in need of assistance with resumes and stuff, please feel free to reach out to me. But I don't want to take away time from Mr. Phillip here. So
yeah.
on to you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yes. So no, again, this you can carry anywhere. The things that you're learning here, and maybe if we have another one, you can take this in clean industries or anywhere you go. But because Carolina Ramos has blessed me with the permission to call her out, let me just please ask her to give you a minute of her experience with this program and her success story. She's our very first hire, just so you know. So Carolina, can you give us a minute or two?
Yeah, actually, I can give you like 3 minutes because I do, I think that hearing what Philip said reminded me of a lot of great points that I want to share with everyone, especially because I see that this is such a great and diverse crowd. But anyway, good evening, everyone. And I really want to thank Cookie and Victor from Latino Action Network Foundation. And they were really instrumental in getting my career transition going. So I originally started out, I'm a first gen professional. I was a first gen college student and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I entered the world of sustainability and local government. So I worked as sustainability coordinator for Jersey City for about 4 years. And I realized that I wanted to explore other options. And kind of like what Philip mentioned, I always strive to improve myself. So whether that means expanding my skill set, building my network, staying up to trends within my field, I think that's really important to do. And sustainability is very broad, and I wanted to find what exactly called my attention. And through some projects and through my previous role, I was able to discover that the energy sector really interested me, and that there aren't a lot of women in that field. I mean, in the sustainability field to begin with, and there aren't a lot of people of color or first generation professionals in this field. And like Cookie said, there is a need for everyone in this field. So you don't have to be a scientist, you don't have to be into policy, you can be a data analyst, you can work on solar, you can be a solar technician, you can work on windmills. Wind technology is huge and upcoming. So there's a place for everyone in this clean energy transition. And I really encourage you all to look for opportunities, or at least explore the field a little more. It's emerging, it's developing, it's kind of new. So, I have a couple of tips that I do want to share that helped me find my way into my current role, where I am an energy analyst at a consulting firm called Cadmus. And they're working on PSEG's Clean Energy Future program. So just a couple like quick tips. So professional development is so important. During my tenure in Jersey City, I worked on a project that used GIS, which is Geographic Information Science. And it basically uses data to map, model, and analyze like various problems related to health, related to environmental stuff, whatever it may be. That really interested me, and I went out of my way to take courses in GIS. And now I complete those courses, and now I'm taking courses in data science because I want to expand my skill set. And this is all during, I'm still doing it right now, but the goal was to complete my courses and look for a new job. But, thanks to Victor and Cookie, I found a job before that. So,
Carolina, I have to,
yeah.
we only have 20 minutes left, and
Okay,
I love you
I'm
dearly.
sorry. Yeah, so, and anyway, and I also, one last thing, expand your network and definitely look into creating a LinkedIn and connecting with people that are in a field that you're interested in. So thank you so much.
Thank
No
you.
fuera porque tú dejaste la mochila en la iglesia. Yo no fuera para la
Hey,
iglesia.
Nancy,
Porque
Nancy.
dinero no tengo para pagar.
Nancy, mute out. I'm going to open the floor for questions and conversation. And the one thing I will say
Nada
about
más por yo no coger tal lucha que yo cojo contigo.
Nancy.
Ven.
Yo, where you at? Let me get Nancy. Okay,
Okay, Darren.
got it. Okay, I apologize. For this particular campaign, you do need a social security number, and you do need to speak English and read English. These are bilingual positions, but remember, this is the first of hopefully other trainings that we'll be able to do, and you can take this with you anywhere. So let me please ask whoever would like to speak or ask a question, unmute yourself and just jump right in. With 20 minutes left, I'd like for all of us to be short, including the answer people, whoever you want to ask a question to. I'm going to put my email in the chat, and Victor is going to put his email again in the chat in case you would like to let us know if this was valuable to you or not. And I open the floor at this time. How can I not feel nervous when I'm going to an interview for the first time?
Okay, okay, quickly, try to do what I suggested. And here, think about all the things that make you nervous. So make sure you're there on time, make sure you dress properly, make sure you have the directions, make sure you know if it's going to be a Zoom. If it's going to be a Zoom one where they're doing it in a computer, paste notes around your computer. I have notes that I put around. So when you're looking at the screen, clean your screen. Your camera. I had someone that I interviewed, it looked like they were in smoke. And I said, is there fog in your room? No. I said, Michael, could you go and clean your, he said, whoa, So get rid of all the things that'll make you nervous and hear yourself answer the question. Now, when Carolina talked, what did she do? She said, she answered the question, tell me about yourself. She didn't say, I worked for Jersey City and I was working on my graduate or undergraduate, and I thought I wanted to get into. She didn't give me those things. She expanded it a little bit to tell her entire story. So she did a very good, tell me about yourself. And I would have asked her questions about why did she choose that and what did she learn? How did she use the geo information? So but you practice saying what you want to tell them and hear it from yourself. Record it and play it back. You don't have to have anyone else hear it. You understand what you want to say and you practice it and play it back yourself.
What else you might want to know, and you can raise your hand or put your question in the chat, but when you're getting into an interview where you're getting $20 an hour or better, you might want to know something about that company. I know you have X number of locations in New Jersey. I'm able to travel. I'm able to work remotely. I'm a good people person. I'm a good computer person. Those things really tell an employer who they're kind of looking at. Not that I like the color pink and stuff like that, but just really what kind of person you can do overtime, or you have kids, you're only a 9 to 5, or you can work weekends. Those are things employers really also want to know. Anyone else?
And that's the thing that you have to put on your, when you look at your strengths and your opportunities and maybe weaknesses. And if they ask you what's your biggest weakness, what you're going to do is you're going to look at something that you're working on right now and say, well, my biggest weakness is maybe I'm a perfectionist and sometimes I don't like to delegate, but I learned and I've read some books or I took a class and I'm doing this, I'm making schedules, I'm learning how to follow up. So they could ask you, what is your biggest weakness? What's your biggest strength? But you would have already answered that and tell me about yourself. So think about those questions that will give you some problems and then say it out loud and record it and play it back. You only have to do it twice. After 2 times, you have it and the words will flow. And to give good eye contact. Sometimes people have problems with good eye contact. I'll tell you something right now that will take care of that for the rest of your life. If you're interviewing with someone, you stare at the bridge of their nose. You can stare at their eyes, but if they go and you are focused on one eye and you think, oh, gee, now I got to go to the other eye, or you can move your eyes during the interview when you're thinking about something and responding in a natural way. But if you get nervous about eye contact, stare right at the bridge of their nose, right between the 2 eyes. And no one within 2 feet of you will know if you're staring them in the eyes. Now, once you know that, it'll never be a problem for you. So you can go into the interview and say, I don't have to worry about eye contact.
One of the other things that Phil mentioned earlier was the resume needs to fit the job. You don't want to send a resume from McDonald's that you worked in McDonald's and the factory and this and that to a $30 job, $30 an hour job. So you want to tailor the objective. You want to tailor your skills or your education or whatever it is that fits that job best. So it's good for you to have a number of resumes or have it set up in a way that you can tailor it quickly. Because one job might be, working in the field with the drivers. Another job might be working in the office. And you have both of those kinds of entry-level type of skills if you're not at a mid-level space at that time. But you want to very much think of when the employer looks at your paper, what is he seeing? How is that paper representing you? Back in the day, you could, smile and look beautiful and professional and all that, but now most of the time your applications are online. They don't even meet you yet until you get near the interview. So your resume really represents you. How can I make my resume shine better despite not having much job experience? I'm going to just start with that one by saying, express who you actually are. I'm great with people, or I'm great with computers, or I'm able to travel. But who are you? And the way I'll say that as Philip takes this over is the hardest thing I've ever had to do was write a 1-paragraph bio of who I am. I've been working for decades already. How do you squeeze that into 1 paragraph and have it reflect you? And that might be the hardest thing you have to do, but it will also carry you so far. Philip, go ahead and jump in there.
Yeah, there was another question that came in as to how would you tell about yourself in a cover letter? Well, you're basically, see, this is where some people jump in too quickly. They try to go and get the resume and get it out there. The qualifications, if you worked at McDonald's and now you want to go and work in a different industry, you learned how to be a team player because you worked on a team. They have teams. They call them teams in McDonald's. You worked the counter, so you had customer service contact. You worked under stress because there was, fast times and this and that. You had shift work. So those all described what your other job did, which gave you qualifications. You're a team player because you worked in a customer service experience because I interacted with customers and took orders and handled cash. I'm dependable because I would go and handle the cash or handle the money. I am qualified because I'm detail oriented. Every one of those, even though they have the menu up there as to how to go and build it, you have to do it exactly the same every time. So look at those things. And that's the problem. We don't look at what we really have accomplished. And then you want to go and tell that in a short, concise area. If I was going to be working at McDonald's and tell my story to a company that I wanted to work for that had other people working for me, I've had experience dealing with the general public. I've had experience dealing with teams and time schedules and very specific guidelines as to the quality. So those are the things that I have experienced in my work experience in the past, and I believe that they will go and help you solve your problems in the future. So you, in a very short, concise, bring in your experience and make them very specific to you. They don't say, I worked the front counter at McDonald's. You don't have to say that.
Right.
You say, I'm a person that had this experience, and they can drill down in your resume. And then to go and stand out with other people, your qualifications should mirror their posting. If they say they want someone that can do this, you look at where you have had that experience, you put that at the top. Then you move it down. So depending on the company you're interviewing for, you will change the order of the qualifications to mirror their job posting. That's how you'll stand out. Because
So,
everyone makes one resume and then just sends it out to everyone else.
yeah.
It doesn't
Not
work
when you-
that way.
Not for a real career type of job,
No.
right?
No,
So
no. And what I'm telling you, these tactics will work for the vice president of the bank, or they'll work for someone who's going to drive the truck. We all interview the same way. It just gets more intricate as we go forward from the standpoint of specifics about the job, but it's the same process.
So I believe that we have some job seekers here, and I believe we have some job recruiters here. And I want to thank Morris County Organization for Hispanic Affairs, community. Oh my God, what does CARC stand for in Monmouth County? Community. Beatriz is gonna kill me. And La Casa de Don Pedro in Newark. I want to thank you for inviting your clients to our training here. And if you don't have questions about jobs, if you're not coming up with that, possibly comment to us about, is this valuable to you? Is this something that we should do again? Is this something that you need a different level for? Help us understand how to help you, not only possibly in conversation here, but as well, I left my email and I left Victor's email in the chat to please send us your comments about how this training is going, and is this helpful? So would anyone please speak to what you've heard tonight, and or what you might want to hear, or is this useful to you? And remember, you can ask job related questions too, but I want you to get off those microphones and speak with us now, if you could.
I went through a lot of topics very quick, and most of the topics can be expanded if you would ever want to drill down to any one of the parts of the process. But
hello, I'm Maria.
hi, Maria.
I just wanted to say that it's very interesting to me that you said that one resume is just not tailored for like every job, because a lot of individuals do believe that. And I recently learned that when I was fixing my resume and doing a cover letter, there are certain things that you do want to remove. And at the end of the day, that doesn't help a lot of people when they are trying to get jobs. And when they need to explain themselves in an interview, it makes it 100 times more difficult. So I appreciate you for putting that out there, because a lot of people just send their resumes just how they had it the first time.
Yeah, and you want to update it all the time. You want to, it has to be constantly updated. I was working with someone who graduated from college, and he wanted to get into a field that he wasn't familiar with, human resources. And I said, well, what do you know about human resources? He said, well, I'm taking a course in human resources during the summer after he graduated. And I said, well, where is that on the resume? I didn't see it. And he said, oh, I just didn't add it. And then I interviewed someone else for my accounting firm. And I said, oh, are you still working at so-and-so and so-and-so? Because they had the start date, but they didn't have the end date. And he said, oh, no, that's an old resume. Well, that's like setting up a skyrocket, you know? They don't care enough to give me the very best. So you want to always make sure it's up to date and it has the most current information. If you went to a conference and
Philip, we have 5 minutes. I'm going to keep us to task.
Okay.
Community Affairs and Resource Center of Monmouth County. Okay, I remember. Monmouth, Essex, and Morris County is here. Susan, please open your mic there.
Hi, I'm a Work First New Jersey instructor for group job search. And Philip, thank you very much. You affirmed that what I'm doing with my clients right now is right on point, but I still managed to learn a couple of new things from you. The tip about asking for the job at the end of the interview, I think that's a great idea, and I'm going to start using that right away. So thank you.
Right. Oh, you're welcome. And most people will not tell you that. And I haven't found it in any books. It's in my book because over my career, that's always been true. And I've been told that by many hiring managers. If you don't show the interest, I'm a little worried that you'll take the job.
Yeah.
So Kayla has a question. She says she has 2 interviews coming up and she doesn't know if she should go to one or both. You go to both, but look at your resume again and look at it as the employer, look at it as the critic, and look at it as the job, each job you're going to see how that employer is going to see you. Would be my 2 cents.
If you go to if it's going to be an interview in person, you take extra resumes with you, because many times they'll get mixed up and they'll lose it, and the interview time comes. So you always go there prepared with the extra copies. Anything that they say, do you have an extra resume or do you have your resume? And it'll make you nervous. So you just think of all those things that will make you calm down so you can sit there and say, ask me anything.
So there's another question, Philip, about folks who have degrees outside of the country. And yes, they're looking for professionals. And yes, you would be able to interview. You just really need a social security number here and to be bilingual here. The rest of that falls right in line. And that just makes you more marketable, by the way. There's so many people with degrees from different countries that they have not been able to transfer into this culture here and into this society.
Yeah. I'm working with someone right now that came over from Vietnam, and I'm working with someone that is coming over from the Middle East, and they have a story that will go and why did they make the decision to come here? Why are they looking for a job here? Because they're solving a problem. And that's what people want. They want problem solvers. So if you're coming from another country or have that experience and you're coming over with that degree, you are 1 in 1,000. And you should be proud of that and use that as your strength.
I really thought that the Zoomer was gonna cut us off at 7 p.m.
No, it'll keep going.
Nobody to get cut off, but
No, it'll keep going.
Sometimes, I don't know.
No, it'll keep going.
I absolutely leave the floor open. I don't have anybody waiting for me here, so we can continue this conversation as long as we need. Any other questions or comments or suggestions? Please help us help you.
Think about some questions, but I'll give you invest $15 and go to Staples or go to someplace else. You can get it for $10 maybe or less. on the internet. Make up your own business card.
Hmm.
Maybe you have experience, maybe you don't, but on the front, you have your name, address, and your information. I'll tell you a funny story.
No address.
And then on the back, because you're paying for both sides, you put your education, your experience, and some key things on the back. And I was in Staples last week, and I was going through the aisles, and one young man was complaining about inflation and the prices. And I said, oh yeah, my students. And when I said that word, we got talking and we exchanged business cards. And now he's asking me to go and do I have any insights into his real estate business? So you never know when you're going to be standing in line at Starbucks and you hear someone saying, you know, we just can't find anyone to go and do this. Say, oh, by the way, you know, I'm looking for a job here. Do you mind taking my, it's a simple thing, and you can get a couple hundred for $10. And it really can make a difference because you're prepared. You're different than someone else.
Pay attention to the universe and the energy around you. I'm going in a different Zoomer now, but I'm going to stop that. Questions, comments, has this been valuable to anyone besides Susan and Carolina? Thank you, Kayla.
Yes, it has.
Yeah. And the same process you can use to get a promotion or your yearly review. You use the same tactics, and they're not tactics, they're what I call a strategy. It's your hiring strategy. The strategy is to interview successfully and get the job that you want. That's your strategy. And so you have to do a little work. You just don't send a resume out there. And with planning, and it's a job. Sometimes you have to do one thing a day to go and promote your career. And if it's nothing more than giving your card out, calling a friend, asking someone about their new job, are they expanding? Are they not? Are they looking for anyone? Try to do one thing a day, just one thing to go and keep you focused on that path. Sometimes it takes a couple weeks, but there's plenty of opportunities, and like your friends and other people that are in your family can give you leads, and you try everything that you can to develop that career. And then you pay it forward. You help someone else when you get there too.
You always pay it forward when you have been blessed, right? I want to give you all back to your families. I want to thank you for staying with us. I'm genuinely asking you to please, please, please send us an email if this was useful to you or what else you might want us to do. And please be in touch with Victor if you're an active job seeker, because like I said, the entire clean industry spectrum is looking for 3,000 people within the next 2 years. And that's just the beginning. So please let us help you get genuine careers like Carolina, who you're part of the answer yourself. We're just guides and supporters to help you. So I want to thank you very much. It's a nice day outside, and I want you to go hug your kids and relax for the rest of the evening. And hopefully we'll be able to do something like this again if there's not any other closing comments or anything. Philip, I want to say thank you so very much.
Well, and I want to tell the other sponsors that are here, my contact information was on the flyer, and I'd be more than happy to go and do. This is my giving back to try to help people. Because people have helped me in the past, and I've helped a lot of people in the past, and I look forward to going and sharing with other people. So any time that I can help any of you or any of the sponsors or the other providers, just call me, email me, and I'll be more than happy to help you. Even if it's two interviews on Friday morning, I'm still available. So
every job seeker in this closing comments, look at your resume first and send it to victorp@landfoundation.org. Don't forget that, okay? And God bless you all. Thank you for staying with us, and hopefully this has been helpful to you.
Thank you so much, Cookie. Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Mr. Phil Hess.
Thank you.
Thank you, Victor.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Good
Please,
night.
amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Amen, please.
Thank you.
You're welcome.